ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
अर्जुन उवाच एवं सततयुक्ता ये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तं तेषां के योगवित्तमाः। श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यावेश्य मनो ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेताः ते मे युक्ततमा मताः। ये त्वक्षरमनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थमचलं ध्रुवम् सन्नियं येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः। क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम् मय्येव मन आधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अथ ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः। अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततः मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि।
Clarification. Chapter 11. In chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita, preceding verses mention that karma, bhakti, jnanam do not lead to the realization of the Vishwarupa form, while verse 54 asserts that Ananya Bhakti alone grants this vision. How can it be that bhakti does not lead to Vishwarupa darshan and yet Ananya Bhakti does? How this should be understood? Is there a contradiction between these verses? In the entire scheme of discussion, right from chapter 7, he said, having explained the importance of Karma Yoga up to chapter 6, he starts explaining the importance of Bhakti Yoga. In explaining the importance of Bhakti Yoga, he said, karma, jnana, rituals, etc., nothing works. While Ananya Bhakti alone works. And then he also said, karma, this form cannot be gotten even through karma bhakti, jnana. That also he said. Is there contradiction? How to rightly understand? There is no contradiction. How to understand it rightly? When we study the scriptures, we categorize the verses into two types. One is formula verses, another is glorification verses. Again, when we read a scripture or when we read anything, we should know how to distinguish between the two. One is the formula verses, another is the glorification verses. Now, the glorification verses will be contradictory to the formula verses. And most of the time, the formula verses will be missed, and the glorification verses we will remember. Why? Why we will remember the glorification verses? Because one thing is so much highlighted that it grabs your attention. In formula verses, nothing is highlighted, nothing will grab your attention there. Therefore, what happens? We just move past those verses. Are you able to follow? So the entire scriptures must be approached in these two methods. One is formula verses, another is glorification verses. The formula verses are the right ones. Glorification verses explains one from the formula. When one is taken from the formula and explained, the other will be put down. It doesn't mean there is a contradiction. Are you able to follow? So when we study only, we should know how to read the scripture. Invariably we'll get carried away by the glorification verses. Why? Because the glorification verses has the potential to grab our attention. Why the glorification verses has the potential to grab our attention? Is exactly like newspaper headlines, isn't it? Yeah. They will make a statement and then they'll put a question mark at the end, isn't it? Nobody will look at the question mark, but they will go and buy the newspaper. Are you able to follow? Why? Because it is when something is glorified, attention is grabbed. Therefore, sometimes when they are wanting to highlight something where they want the attention to be grabbed, some verses will be spoken. Are you able to understand the distinction now? Those verses will be contradictory to those verses will appear to be contradictory to the formula verses. That's why wherever I get a chance, when I read, I will never say glorification verses. I will always say formula verse. And the formula verses, I would have said 7, 8 till now. From chapter 1 to chapter 11, we have covered almost 400 verses. In that 400 verses, you get formula verses only 5, 6. Not more than that. But the glorification verses, you get the rest. Are you able to follow? Therefore, always understand the glorification verses are not supposed to convey the point. It's only highlighting something to grab your attention. That value only we give. Are you Seriya? Because of this methodology of reading, studying the scripture itself is not known, people find built-in contradiction with the scriptures. Why is he saying one thing here and why is he saying something another here? Why is he saying something there? There is no contradiction within the scripture. Contradiction appears because of glorifying something. One. Sometimes another method of contradiction is same words will be used with opposite meaning. Another problem. Yeah. What is the first problem we faced now? Formula versus with glorification versus. First problem. Second problem that we face is what? The same word will be used with the opposite meaning. You are more confused now. Why can't they be? Why can't they be simple and straightforward? Why can't they be simple and straightforward? Too simple and too straightforward will only result in memorizing parroting. Transformation will not happen. Again, I repeat. If something is made too simple, what will happen? Memorizing will happen, parroting will happen, transformation will not happen. Why? Because if it is made simple, straight away you say, I have understood. Once you said, I have understood, you will never ever revisit it again. Just as, will you ever revisit yesterday's newspaper after reading it? You have read the newspaper yesterday. Will you ever open the newspaper again? You will not. Why? Because now that I have understood, I want. Now that I have understood, I want something more. I want something more. I want something more. You follow what I'm saying? Scripture don't work like that. Therefore, what do? Scripture means that which should be revisited again and again and again. For them to make you revisit it again and again and again, some methodologies have to be employed. What are the methodology? Glorification verses in one methodology. Contradictory meanings is another methodology. Contradictory means the same word will have opposite meaning. In one context, in the matter of few verses, he will change. Previously, in one verse, he will say, Jnani means a pandit, scholar. 4 verses later, he will say Jnani means an enlightened one. Two diametrically opposite characteristic features. Who's a scholar? Scholar is one carrying the words, not knowing the value of the words that he is carrying. Like the donkey carrying golden bars. Scholar is like the donkey carrying golden bars, not knowing the value. And as far as the donkey is concerned, as far as the donkey is concerned, what is it? Burden only, isn't it? It will not say, oh, now that I'm carrying gold, to put 2 more tons extra. Will it say that? So, in one context, he means Jnani means a scholar, and that scholar will be Nishiddha. Nishiddha means he'll be ridiculed, insulted. 4 verses later, Jnani means the enlightened one, glorified. Another method. Why this is done? Because they want us to revisit it again and again and again. When will you stop revisiting it? When you know that you have attained, till you have attained liberation, you must revisit it again and again and again. The way to make you revisit it again and again and again, keep lot of gray areas that will make you to come back. Are you able to follow? So formula versus, glorification versus. Glorification versus means lot of adjectives. Where there is lot of adjectives are given, attention is grabbed. That's glorification versus. Second one I said is what? Contradictory words. Contradictory meanings to the same words. Contradictory meaning to the same words. When you look at it, scripture looks so contradictory. When you see this methodology, the scripture looks contradictory. Therefore, we understand that they are not contradictory, but deliberately put in for a reason. What is the reason? For you to revisit it. Every time you revisit, One layer of ignorance is removed. One layer of ignorance is removed. That's why they say, go, keep revisiting the scriptures again and again and again. You can't read it like a newspaper.
So from this question, what should I understand that why previously Bhakti was told no and now?
It's a glorification. When Vishwarupa wants to be glorified, he wants to glorify Vishwarupa. When you want to glorify Vishwarupa, he negates everything. After negating everything, verse number 55, he comes back to the formula verse. When he comes back to the formula verse, what he will bring in? When he is negating karma, bhakti, jnanam, etc., will be gone. What is he glorifying? What is the glorification there? Is spiritual sadhana glorified there or Vishwarupa glorified there? What is glorified there? Vishwarupa is glorified. For Vishwarupa to be glorified, a few things he said. Everything he said, these fellows will not get it, yogis will not get it, sannyasis will not get it, devas don't get it, karma, those who do karma bhakti jnana will not get it, etc. Why? Because you trusted me so much, you thought I am everything, therefore I showed you Vishwarupa. Are you able to follow? Is that a formula? Is that a formula? That's not a formula. That's not a formula. That is to glorify Vishwarupa. The Vishwarupa is glorified there. That's all. Now, when he is concluding the chapter, the last verse that we did last week, with which we concluded, what he came back to? If he had not come back to the formula verses, scripture gets very chaotic. Are you able to follow? Again and again and again, coming back to the formula verses only keeps the sequence going. If he has not come back, it means he is giving 5 contradictory practices. Then only scripture becomes self-contradictory. Are you able to follow now? So what is glorified? Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa is glorified. Spiritual sadhana is not given there. When Vishwarupa is glorified, spiritual sadhana is not given there. When it comes to verse number 55, sadhana is given. Vishwarupa is gone. Vishwarupa is folded, finished. Drama over, season over. Yeah, drama over, season over, episode over. Now he comes back to the formula verses. What is the formula verses? Do karma bhakti jnanam, formula verses. Do karma bhakti jnanam, whatever that karma bhakti jnanam is, come back. Every time he comes back to the formula verses, just as Krishna comes back to the formula verses, Arjuna also goes back immediately. Krishna comes back, Arjuna goes back. Krishna lifts up, Arjuna lifts himself. Why can't he just stay quiet? Saying, what is the seesaw battle going on? Are you able to follow? So, to glorify, to tell him how wonderful is this Vishwarupa, how rare is this Vishwarupa. In the entire Shastric study, that 20 verses, we got a chance to read Vishwarupa in the way that we studied. When are we going to get this vision of, when are we going to get another chance to read Vishwarupa like this? Unless we come back to chapter 11. Unless we come back to chapter 11 again, what a rare vision it is. What a beautiful phenomena it is. How much ever rare and beautiful it is, it has to end. When it ends, where it will end, comes back to formula verse. And when he comes back to formula verses, it gets very irritated and frustrating. Why? Yeah, I'm flying. I thought I'm also seeing actual Vishwarupa, and then suddenly the whole thing falls back and comes to. Are you able to follow? Therefore, there is no contradiction. So, how you should read the scriptures? Formula verses on one side, the other side. What is on the other side? Glorification verses. Same word with opposite meaning. Manana is to come to the conclusion LHS equals RHS. That's the Mananam. Mananam is the capacity by which you come. LHS equals RHS. Left hand side equals right hand side. It means formula versus and the glorification versus are one and the same. The formula versus and the இப்படி படிக்கணுமா இவ்வளோ மேத்தமேட்டிக்கலா வேதாந்தா we never thought. We thought it's like one Katha Kalakshepa, we can listen, learn a few things and just get superficially excited and go back. We never knew match the following lam pannu. Ganesh, puriyudha? Always LHS equals RHS. Appada it's not contradictory. Supposing if LHS is not equal to RHS, it is contradictory, no? It is contradictory. Scriptures looks like that. No, scriptures are not like that. LHS equals RHS. But then to arrive at it is the problem. Yeah. Three plus 1 equals 10 minus 6. Correct? 3 plus 1 equals 10 minus 6. Srikant, correct or not? Huh? Did I say it rightly? I said it correctly, no? Vijay Rangan, 3 plus 1 is 4. 10 minus 6 is 4. LHS is, but then 4 numbers you are saying. You are not saying 4 and 4. Why can't you straight away say 4 equals 4? Why can't you say straight away 4 equals 4? Why do you have to say 3 plus 1 equals 10 minus 6? அதுக்கப்புறம் பிராக்கெட்ஸ்லாம் வேற வரும், isn't it? அதுக்கப்புறம் பிராக்கெட்ஸ்லாம் வரும், அப்புறம் பாட் மாஸா அதெல்லாம் வரும். Oh my God, children gets confused and say, why mathematics is so complicated? But then, that's how it is learned. That's how you have to study a scripture. Are you able to follow? That's how it is. Based on this only we say Vedanta is scientific, logical, reasonable. Based on what we say it is scientific, logical, reasonable. 4 equals 4, na, it is pratyaksham, straight away. Where is the logic there? Where do you have to apply yourself? 3 plus 1 equals 10 minus 6. Nada, for the child who is confused about 2 in the mind, 2 in the fingers, yeah, the child is still confused about 2 in the mind and 2 in the fingers. To that child, 3 plus 1 equals 10 minus 6, it says you are confusing. And it will get angry at the professor, Raj. Yes. And obviously, it will get angry at the professor only. What can the professor do now? That's how it has to be done. Are you able to follow? So there is no contradiction at all. So always try to match it like that. Keep formula verses on one side and then understand the rest of the verses as glorification verses. That's why I keep on repeating 3 to 6 glorified karma yoga, 3 to 6 glorified karma yoga. In that karma yoga, no mention of God was there. Uddared atmanatmanam, raise yourself. It's only your effort. It's only your effort. It's only your effort. So so the Purushartha was so much glorified there. Suddenly from chapter 7 he switched on to God now. And then from chapter 13 he's going to switch on to chapter 13 is going to switch on to something. And the chapter 13 to chapter 18, Kshetragyam Chapimam Vidhi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata, he's going to say in chapter 13. Chapter 14, 3 gunas. Adukum Kshetragyamku 3 gunas ku no connection only. LHS will not be equal RHS Sangha. And then by the time you get some clarity, Abhada, 15th chapter, Purushottam Yoga, Uttama Purushas Anyaha. Over. And then 16th chapter, and then 17th chapter, and then 18th chapter. Swadharma analysis of the Swadharma analysis of 16, 17, 18 is something so phenomenally done. So by the time you come to 66th verse, Yata Ishyasi Tata Kuru, you are utterly confused. Telling him that what? Just tell me what to do now. Fight. Abada. I would have done that. You tortured me with this philosophy to make me to do that. Are you able to follow? Formula versus LHS. RHS, glorification versus
contradictory words.
Contradictory meanings to the same word. Contradictory meanings to the same word. Contradictory meanings to the same word கொடுத்தாதான் group discussion interesting இருக்கும். Fightலாம் வரும், isn't it? You can fight, stab each other. All that can happen only there. Supposing 4 equals 4, 4 equals 4, 4 equals 4. No, what is there to discuss? Are you able to follow? This is the methodology by which the scripture has to be studied. What we used to call as language of contradiction. Adjective versus glorification versus, and then the language of contradiction. LHS equals RHS. We have to sit and match. That's where we take help of the great masters who have already matched and try to explain to us. We understand that, and then one day we will be able to do it by ourselves. That's how the growth happens. Is it okay? We are beginning with chapter 12. Vishwarupa over. I'm feeling very sad to leave Vishwarupa and to come to this Bhakti Yoga. At least it was so, it was so real. You can see things so clearly there. Vishwarupa, he was seeing, he showed things so clearly. From that, we come to Bhakti Yoga. First thing that you have to remember, whenever the title Yoga is used in Bhagavad Gita, remember the word Yoga means topic. It's not Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Here the word Yoga means topic. Now a topic is going to be dealt with. Are you able to follow? Yeah. Yoga means unite, karma, bhakti, jnana. Somewhere you got this meaning. Yoga means topic now, isn't it? Contradictory as it is. Yes, right away you start with meaning. Where is the word? How can the word yoga means topic? That's what it means. The word yoga means topic. It's not Vishada Yoga. There is no despondent union with God, isn't it? There is no despondent union with God. So what does the word yoga mean? What does the word yoga meant there? The topic of Arjuna's. That's why in English it will be translated as chapter. So yoga means topic. Yoga means chapter. Both are one and the same. I'm using it very, very synonymously. That's why we call it as chapter 11, chapter 12. It means what? Yoga means chapter. Yoga means topic. Sometimes what do? We call it as chapter, and then the verses itself is broken down into topics. Therefore, the broad subject that this chapter is going to cover, this yoga is going to cover is bhakti. A very broad subject. In that broad subject, various things are going to be discussed. Now, the word bhakti. The word bhakti translated as devotion is not an appropriate translation. It's a very general translation to give a meaning. That's all. The bhakti comes from the root word bhaja. Bhaj means service. So bhakti means what now? The etymological meaning of the word bhakti comes from the root word bhaja. Bhaja means Not bhaja doesn't mean bhajan, singing, kirtan. Today we have given that meaning, isn't it? Bhaja means kirtan. No. Bhaja means service. Now we have another contradiction. Karma yoga is service. Bhakti is also service. What are these two services? What are the two types of services? It's not two type of services. In one action, two things. That's why Karma yoga and Bhakti yoga goes together. How does Karma yoga and Bhakti yoga goes together? Bhakti is the attitude you bring into the action. The right attitude with the right action. So right action is Karma yoga. Right action is called karma. Right attitude is called bhakti. Are you able to follow? Therefore, we don't see bhakti as a separate yoga. Karma and bhakti goes together. That's why we always have a problem with bhakti. Even now we have a problem with bhakti is because if we have understood bhakti as a separate yoga of singing kirtans and rituals and prasadam and naivedyam, then you have a problem of bhakti. Because bhakti means is understood as what? Bhakti means an exclusive practice which is different from karma yoga and jnana yoga. That's why we find it impossible to understand even what this bhakti is and to do bhakti. It is difficult to understand bhakti, and to do bhakti is far more difficult because bhakti is seen as an exclusive practice of an idol worship. Bhakti in Vedanta is not an exclusive practice of idol worship. For that idol worship itself is karma yoga. That's what we are going to see how it's going to happen. That idol worship itself becomes karma yoga. How do you say that? Formula verse. Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Lokesmin dvivida nishta pura prokta mayanaga jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Therefore, it is very clear. From this, we can also understand how work is worship. There are people who say work is worship. No. Yes, work is worship. That is bhakti yoga. So it means how to bring in the worshipful attitude into work. Are you able to follow? How to bring in the worshipful attitude into work. How to bring in the worshipful attitude into work? Work is the sadhana. Sadhyam is what you want to accomplish through action. Work is the sadhanam. Through the work, you want to accomplish something which is the sadhyam, the means and the end. Action is never the end. Action is always the means to an end. Action is never the end. You do an action, action is the sadhana for a sadhyam. And what is the sadhyam? What is the sadhyam? At one level, sadhyam is, remember the sequence we studied yesterday? At one level, sadhyam is fulfillment of desires, any means. Another level, fulfillment of desire in a dharmic. Then comes action for eradication. Eradication of desires, etc., can happen only when the element of God enters. the right attitude enters. That's why we call it as a U-turn. A dharmic person need not be devoted to God, but a spiritual person has to be devoted to God. Again, I repeat, a dharmic person need not be devoted to God at all. Why? Because all that he understands is there is a law and I'll obey the law and I will work within the means of the law, experience punya karma, enjoy that punya karma. It's over. Spiritual person cannot be like that. Spiritual person has to bring in dharma and spiritual person has to bring in dharma and the God who set the dharma. Dharma is not self-set. There is a God. It has to be seen like that. There is a God, and that God sets the law. Therefore, action dedicated to action, work, or action with the proper attitude of Ishvara, Arpana, becomes combination of karma and bhakti. Now we are segregating it into understand it right. For understanding purposes, we talk about it as though they are two separate. But now what we are trying to do is, after understanding as two separate, we are trying to merge both and say they are not two separate. Are you able to follow? How do we do that? Same method, follow. LHS equals RHS. First we will solve the LHS. And then we will solve the RHS. And then we will see how both are the same. Are you able to follow? Now you can't say both are same in the beginning. You have to keep solving them separately. Ultimately, both will become the same. Ganesha, maths correct, huh? You don't solve both straight away. First you solve one. LHS you will solve. And then you will solve RHS. And then finally you will see what tally ardan bhagam. Yeah. Accounts madri. Inside on side correct. Yeah. Are you able to follow? Then it is, so what we did, we studied Karma Yoga separately, and then we studied Bhakti Yoga separately. Now that we are in 12th chapter, we want to bring in both together, and we want to understand how Karma Bhakti is always an integrated practice, not an isolated separate practices. This is very, very important to understand, at least theoretically. Please understand, all this we are doing only theoretical understanding. Nobody is expected to go out and become a bhakta after all these lectures. It is like a classroom. Other exams, I think you should keep exams also. Then it will become like one classroom now. Very clear classroom, sir. Practice lam pati kavale. Are you able to follow? Therefore, we studied karma separately, we study God separately, and then we combine both. In Bhakti Yoga, which is this topic, which is this chapter, what are we going to combine? What we studied as Karma Yoga separately, and what we studied as God, Brahman, Ishvara separately, we are going to combine both together. For the one who has combined both together, there are indicators. Those are the 35 values. For the one who has combined both, indicators of that who have combined both are the 35 values, 35 virtues, 35 qualities of a spiritual person, we will say. In the Bhakta means a spiritual person. Bhakta doesn't mean the person who is singing bhajans. That's where we think, oh, Bhakta means the one who is singing bhajans, and we look at the fellow who is singing bhajans and we'll see nothing there. Yeah. Terrible follow till now? Did I go very fast? I'm thinking I'm very slow. I know I'm very, very slow, but are you okay till now? So, karma is action. Bhakti is bringing in. Bhakti is service. Karma is also action. When you say bhakti is service, bhakti also becomes another type of Action. Now, what are the two types of action? No. One is action, another is the change in attitude. Are you able to follow now? Action, the change in attitude. Action, change in attitude. Understand it like that. Action. One attitude is adharma. Another attitude is dharma. Another attitude is karma yoga. Another attitude is sannyasa. So it means action is the same. What is changing? Action is the same. What is changing? Action is not changing. Work is not changing. You still have to do business only. You still have to do business only. You still have to do teaching only. You still have to do everything only. So what is changing? Action. Action remains the same. Now what is changing? Action is not changing. What is changing? Attitude is changing. From adharma to dharma to karma yoga to sannyasa yoga to moksha. From adharma to moksha, it will continue, but one thing will remain the same. What? Action. Same action. Huh? Change illa. Look at the beauty of it. Action remains the same. That's what Arjuna wanted to change the activity. Are you able to follow? Arjuna thought that adharma activity is inferior and sannyasa activity is superior. Therefore, he want to change the activity. Krishna said, by changing the activity, what are you going to achieve? And we all believe only by changing the activity we grow, isn't it? Nobody wants to change the attitude in the activity. They believe that you have to change in action. That's why they say, sir, what should I do now? What should I do? I say, what do you mean, what should you know? Aren't you doing so many things till now? Yes, do it rightly. I will follow how Vedanta helps. Otherwise, people believe what spiritual growth means. What I am doing, I need to leave and start doing something, which is entirely opposite of Vedic Vedantic idea. Yeah. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Why do you have to change the action? Again, I repeat. Activity remains the same. Activity, work remains the same. What changes? Attitude is changing. What are the various attitudes that changes? From adharma to dharma, dharma to karma yoga to sannyasa, sannyasa to moksha. After moksha, what happens? Activity will continue. Same activity will continue. Janaka wanted to follow Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra said, why are you following me? What are you going to achieve by following me? You are a king, you rule the kingdom. Yeah, you are a king, you rule the kingdom. No, but I also want to teach like you. I also want to teach like you. Why do you want to teach? Have you ever taught in your life? Yeah. Has teaching ever motivated? Has teaching ever inspired? Teaching has never inspired. Then why do you suddenly want to teach now? Are you able to follow? Janaka wanted to follow Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra turned back and said, go back. You be the king, I be the... Let carpenter be the carpenter, let plumber be the plumber, let king be the king, let the teacher be the teacher. Activity changing, all nothing is going to happen. Impossible to digest this. Impossible to accept it. Why? Because we still believe that the problem is there. Are you able to follow? Arjuna has the same problem in Bhagavad Gita. That's what I'm going to say. What is Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita? Guruna hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyam apiha loke. Chapter 2 சொன்னாரு Ram Subramaniam. You are not born when we did chapter 2. Yeah. Therefore, I'm telling you now. Sunil, you were born. I know. Yeah, correct. You were born. Narayana, I don't know. No, you are not born. Right. Rajkumarla, 3 janmas he have gone through all this. Yeah. Rajkumar, Venkat, avangala veterans. They have gone through 3 janmas in all these things. Ram Subramaniam. In chapter 2, he said, Guruna Hatvagi Mahanubhavan Shreyo Bhoktum Vaikshamapiha Loke. You are calling it as what is dharma in this war? Where the guru has to be killed. Guruna Hatva. How can you kill the guru? That's why he couldn't. Supposing he had placed the chariot in front of Duryodhana, fight would have started. And he placed the chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona. And placing the chariot in Bhishma and Drona created the Dharma Sankata in him. Because he thought Bhishma and Drona will not come to the battlefield. He planned with his own, everybody makes their own plans with certain assumptions. No? All our planning has some assumptions. And Arjuna, the entire Pandavas also planned the war with some assumptions. What are the assumptions? Bhishma, Drona will not come and stand in front saying, over my dead body. They never anticipated that. Now, actually, what happened in the battlefield now? Bhishma has become the commander-in-chief. Now, he is strategizing. Commander-in-chief means he is strategizing. He is strategizing the entire war for Duryodhana. And who's standing behind who's standing behind Bhishma? Drona. And who is an Acharya. And the favorite student. Why? Yeah, the teachers have students and there will be one favorite student. And why? What makes a student favorite? Yeah, the Karpura Buddhi. Yeah, wherever the fellow has a Karpura Buddhi, he becomes the how are they catching it? How are they catching it? As you are saying, he catches it. Yeah. As he is teaching, he is catching it. As he is teaching, he is catching it. So, Guruna Hatva hi Mahanubhavan. Now what happened? He thought that he need not kill them. Now they have to be Gora Karma, he said. What is Gora Karma? Killing Bhishma and Drona is Gora Karma. From the angle of Arjuna, what is Gora Karma? Not killing Duryodhana and the rest. Gora Karma is killing him. Better to live on alms, bhiksha. Shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyamavi. Bhaiksha means living on bhiksha. Bhaiksha, and the grammatical gradations 7 into 321 from the bhiksha comes the Shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyamavi haloke. Bhiksha comes from the word bhiksha. Better to live on alms. Who can live on alms? Only 2 categories can live on alms. One is the brahmachari, another is the sannyasi. Brahmachari means the student is not supposed to bother about earning. Earn and study. I don't know how the whole world is agreeing to that also. Earn while you study. Yeah? While you study, you should not earn. You should study. Yeah. Weekends, I will work in McDonald's. Weekends, I will work in petrol stations. And I balance it out. But Krishna is not agreeing to that. Brahmacharya. Living on alms means living on the support of others without doing anything. Alms means what? Alms means one who doesn't actively contribute. That's called alms. Yeah. 2 categories only are supposed to live on alms. One is the brahmachari and another is the sannyasi. And who's a sannyasi? Sannyasi is allowed to live on alms. Why? Because sannyasi wants to keep the body alive. That's all. He just wants to keep the body alive. In order to keep the body alive, he eats something. Why? Body is the tool that has to be kept alive for actions to happen, for moksha, etc. Therefore, a sannyasi can live on alms, a brahmachari can live on alms. All of us should not be living on alms. All of us should not be living on alms. We have to do something or the. Are you able to follow that? Are you okay till now? For Arjuna, what happened? He said, changing the activity. He wants to change the activity. He wants to change the activity. What is changing the activity means? From the Gora karma, unspiritual activity, turn to spiritual activity. Now, from all the story that I said for the last 20 minutes, what is Arjuna's understanding? From unspiritual activity, turn to spiritual activity. Correct? Huh? Are you all able to follow? From unspiritual activity, turn to spiritual activity. What is Krishna saying? What is Krishna saying? இது என்னப்பா புது category you are introducing? He is saying, what is this new category that you are introducing now? I know only one activity, change of attitude only I know. Saumitra, are you able to follow? That's why don't worry about changing Allah. Stick there only. Why? Because there is no spiritual activity versus mundane activity. It is mundane attitude or spiritual attitude behind the activity. Correct? Huh? What is mundane attitude means? From adharma to dharma. What is spiritual attitude means? Karma yoga, sannyasa, moksha. It means activity remains the same. What changes? The attitude changes. If we have understood this, then Bhakti Yoga also doesn't become a new activity. It is the attitude that I bring into the existing activity. Are you able to follow? What is the attitude change that I bring into the existing activity? While doing the action, it is Ishvara Arpana. When it comes to the result of the action, it is Prasada Buddhi. Are you able to follow now? Starting point of the action is Ishvara Arpana. And whatever the result comes, you take it as Prasada Buddhi. This Arpana, Ishvara Arpana and Prasada Buddhi is called Bhakti. Comes from the root word Bhaja, service. Seriya? Yes.
When we're talking about the attitude, the shift from dharma to karma yoga, you introduced the term dharma plus the creator of dharma,
God.
God. I didn't understand that.
The question that she is asking is, when we made the U-turn from dharmic to spiritual, introduce the word God. Now, what is that? That is this whole chapter we are going to read. That's his entire chapter. That's why we set the ground. I'm just setting the platform for what we are going to discuss. What is that God? How it is, all that comes, all that we are going to read now. First, I wanted to explain what is the word bhakti means. We need to have a clarity on the word bhakti. Bhakti means service. What is the need to bring in God now? Why can't we just say? Why can't we just call it as bhakti and stay quiet? Why do you have to bring in the word God? That's why we say replace the word bhakti with the word upasana, then it becomes clear. Replace the word bhakti with the word upasana. What is upasana? Upa asana. Upa asana means that which takes you nearer, closer. So the karma bhakti combination is that which takes you closer to God. Because when you have taken a U-turn, one path is moving away from God, another path is moving in the direction of God. So U-turn itself means what now? You can use the word God, you can use the word Brahman, you can use the word your own self. Are you able to follow? All are synonyms. You can use the word God, you can use the word your own self, you can use the word Brahman. In the modern day context, people don't like to use the word God at all because they think God means, I don't know what they think about the word God. Yeah. They like the word your own self, they like the word consciousness, they like the word Brahman, but not the word God. God is very, as though they have known everything about God and they have understood everything about God, to treat the word God itself as an inferior word. Are you able to follow? Why we treat that word as inferior? Because without knowing anything about God, we come with an understanding of God already. Are you able to follow? Therefore, what does that U-turn means? One path is away from God, another path is moving towards God. Extroverted means moving away from God, introverted means moving towards God. So opposite directions they are. They are not in, they don't go together at all. They are diametrically opposite directions. What is it? One takes you away from God, another takes you towards God. In the path that you are taking closer to God, what is the first path? Karma bhakti. That's why it said upasana. That's why the Upanishads, the classic word is upasana. Bhakti is a more modern terminology. And then over a period of time, bhakti became a separate. Over a period of time, people started misunderstanding bhakti as a separate practice. How they understood bhakti as a separate practice? That's where we say when the bhakti cult became popular. When the bhakti cult became popular, all this started. We're not saying that bhakti cult is wrong. Please carefully follow. But then it was not rightly understood. Now, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to rightly understand. Why do we have to introduce God? For a person who is adharmic, going in the opposite direction, does Tattvamasi, I am Atma Brahma work? Will it help? That's what is happening today. A person is moving in the adharmic direction, and that person is talking about Tattvamasi and I am Atma Brahma. Now, when that person is talking about Tattvamasi, I am Atma Brahma, what is it like? We started by saying that it is like the gold on a mule's back. Gold on a mule's back. For that mule, it is burden only. Burden only means what? Others get benefited by the gold. What does the mule get? The donkey is carrying the gold. Who gets benefited by the weight that it carries? Does donkey derive any benefit? It can just live on the grass. Even if you don't do that also, it can just, but then others get the benefit, but the carrier still remains the same. The carrier of words remains the same. The other is deriving the benefit. Dogda Gopala Nandana. When you do that Gita Dhyanam Slokam, I gave this example also. In the 60s and 70s, we'd have seen, the calves stuffed with there won't be calf at all. The skin of the calf stuffed with grass. Keep it far away and starts milking here. The cow is producing milk for that calf. Scholar is like that calf stuffed with the grass. Prayojaname கிடையாது. It doesn't, that fellow doesn't get anything at all. Dogda Gopala Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gita Amritam Mahat. Are able to follow? Now, what should happen? The word God is introduced because when you talk about a law, you automatically ask who is the creator of the law. Where there is a law, automatically there has to be a creator of the law. That creator of the law is called God. Law is not self-created. Law is not self-created. If it is self-created, you can never ever transcend because it will go on creating itself again and again and again. You will be caught in that loop all the time. Are you able to follow? Therefore, law is not self-created. There is the law and then there is the creator of the law. Now, to explain about the creator of the law, God comes in, certain explanations of God comes in. And what is that explanation of God that comes in? Eka Rupa, Aneka Rupa, Vishwarupa, Arupa, etc. All that. So, the word for karma to become karma yoga, what is necessary? For karma to become karma yoga, who's necessary in that? God is necessary. Only when God comes in, karma becomes karma yoga. Are you able to follow? How do we call it as karma yoga? Because Mayarpita Mano Buddhi, he said, no, actions dedicated to Arpana Buddhi, actions dedicated to me, action dedicated to me. Whatsoever result you get, be satisfied with that because it is blessed by me. How many times we have studied that? How many times we have heard that? That me is what is called as God. Therefore, bhakti means upasana. Upasana means that which takes you closer to God. Remember, it only takes you closer. A merger doesn't happen. After getting closer, you want to merge. Yeah, முதல்ல you have to get closer. Salokyam, Sarupyam, Samipyam, Sayujyam. I tell you, this class is Shankaracharya has to learn lectures from us. Shankaracharya must learn from us in this class. Divya, you know that, no? I tell you, we both are blessed to be sitting amongst Shankaracharyas. Salokyam, Samipyam, Salokyam, Sarupyam, Samipyam, Sayujyam. So upasana means that which will, upasana means that which takes you to, upasana means that which take you to closer to God. As in Salokyam, either Vaikunta Loka, Saloka. That's why they say you will go to Shiva Loka, Vaikunta Loka. At least from Rakshasa Loka, you will inhabit the same Loka. Yeah. At least visitors visa வாங்க கிடைச்சிருக்குது, isn't it? At least you have a visitors visa. அப்புறமா 10-year golden visa வா? First you will get a visitor visa and then golden visa, அப்புறமா green card, அப்புறமா finally citizenship. அதுதான் சாயுஜ்யம், merger. Yeah, final merger, Sayujyam, is what? Is the ultimate lakshyam. Sayujyam is the ultimate lakshyam. But you don't start with that. Sayujyam, you cannot. Therefore, progressive steps. Progressive steps. We are going to study that also in the same way. Progressive steps to growth. What is progressive steps? முதல்ல விசிட் விசா வாங்கணும், அப்புறமா அதுக்கு பாஸ்போர்ட் வேணும் ஃபர்ஸ்ட், isn't it? அது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் யூ ஷுட் ஹேவ் அ பாஸ்போர்ட், அப்புறம் விசிட் விசா, அந்த மாதிரி ப்ரோக்ரெசிவ் ஸ்டெப்ஸ் டு சாயுஜ்யம். ஆர் ஏபிள் டு ஃபாலோ? வாட் ஆர் த ப்ரோக்ரெசிவ் ஸ்டெப்ஸ்? சலோக்கியம். Upasana takes you to the same loka, Salokyam. And continue the Upasana, Sarupyam. Upasana, Samipyam. Attoda Upasana can't do anything more than that. That's why we say, Bhakti can take you to the closest point of Sarupyam and it will stop you there. That's why all the great devotees, yeah, if you go to Tirupati Balaji temple, there is one step, yeah. And that step is that great Acharya, the great devotee of God is said, Kulasaikarapadi, they say. Yeah, beautiful song that man has sung. Yeah, beautiful song. Beautiful song. He said, let me be that staircase, let me be that stone there. You know, stone no தூக்கி போட மாட்டாங்க யாரும், இல்லையா? Jargandi, they will not tell the stone. Isn't it, Sunil? You go to Tirupati, they'll say Jargandi, no? Move. You even before you know where you are out. Isn't it? But then that Alvar said, no, I don't want, let me become that stone. Na? Stone no big over vachiruvanga. Stone na, it will be placed there looking at the God all the time. To that, bhakti can take you to that extent of samipyam. Sayujyam is what sannyasi wants. He said that the two is too suffocating. The two is too suffocating. The two should dissolve. Are you able to follow? The two should dissolve out of syllabus right now. We are not discussing that point. That is just getting superficially excited as though we are there already. No, let us not discuss about that part. So what is bhakti now? Two words to bhakti. Bhaja is one word. Upasana is another word. The topic of devotion, the chapter called devotion. Devoted to what? Then the next question. Devoted to what? Devoted to whom? Devoted to what? Devoted to whom? Devoted to what? The action. To whom? The God. So, dedicated, devoted action for the sake of Salokyam, Samipyam, Sarupyam is Karma Bhakti. Are you able to understand the connection now? 15th chapter, he will transcend that also. 15th chapter, he will try to say that you have to transcend that also. But that point we are not discussing now. Therefore, what we are trying to discuss, we try to restrict ourselves to these two words. What is bhakti and what is upasana? So, right through this chapter, I will be using these two words interchangeably. I will be using the word bhakti and I will use the word upasana also. And the word upasana conveys the point of to what extent it can take you. Why we want to use the word upasana? Because the word upasana tells you to what extent it can take you. To what extent it can take you. Having heard all this means not what we said. Having heard the Vishwarupa, etc. and all that, he came back to the formula verse. When he came back to the formula verse, which is verse number 55, this chapter will start with Arjuna's question. This chapter will start with Arjuna's question. We'll be seeing that. He will ask the question that he asked in chapter 3 is the question that he asked in chapter 5, is the question that he is asking, is going to ask now, is the same question he will ask in chapter 18 also. So in and through all Arjuna's question, one thing he wants to hold on to. What? Arjuna wants to convince Krishna to change activity. Krishna wants to convince Arjuna to change your attitude. அதுதான் ஃபைட் ரெண்டு பேருக்கும். What is Bhagavad Gita conflict between Krishna and Arjuna? Venkatachalam. Are you able to follow? What is the problem of Arjuna and Krishna? Arjuna wants to change activity. Krishna is saying, change your attitude. Which is easy? Changing the activity is easy. Therefore, he says, that's easy. No, I will take to the easy path. Changing the activity is always easy. By changing the activity, you can delude yourself to believe that you are growing. By changing the activity, nothing is going to happen. You have to change what has to be changed? The attitude has to be changed. And in order to change the attitude, lot of practices are required, and scriptures, they are giving us lot of sadhanas to do that. That's not a problem. But the problem comes in what Arjuna is saying, change activity. Krishna is saying, change the attitude in the existing activity. அப்படின்னா ஃபியூச்சர்ல சேஞ்ச் ஆகுமா சார்? People ask this question. Sir, in future, will my Swadharma change? What do you mean your Swadharma has to? Why should it change? What is so inferior that in your existing Swadharma that you think that you are going to achieve by doing something else? Are you able to follow? Right through the humanity has one fundamental problem. And more and more they come into this philosophy, this study and all this thing. They are more convinced that activity must be changed. And I tell you, so many people I have seen changing their activities, remaining the same. And there are very few who kept on to the activity and changed their attitude. Oh my God, what a beauty, what a growth in that. Are you able to follow? But why do they do that? Why do they do that? They think by changing the activity is going to. But then Krishna is very clear, no? Krishna is very clear. What is Krishna's clear stance? Don't change your activity, change your attitude. No, sir, in that activity, I don't get time at all. No. That activity, supposing if I'm going to work, sir, I don't have time at all. Raj. Yeah, meetings are happening. Meetings after meeting is happening. Travel is happening. Next, they will send you to Mars also. Pluto also, they will send you next, isn't it? Where is the time, sir? Where is the time, sir? What do you mean, where is the time? Activity is happening, no? Yes. You have time for your activities, no? Yes. Then you should be able to do it there. Then you should be able to do it there. This is how the Vedas helped everybody to attain moksha. It's a beautiful master plan of the Vedas. But rarely people understand it nowadays, know what to do. Rarely it's a master plan where you don't have to change your activity for moksha. They will study Bhagavad Gita and they'll go and change the activity. They'll study Upanishad and they'll go and change their activity, whereas it is said very clearly what? By changing the activity, nothing is going to change. Are you able to follow? Why are you in this activity? What brought you into this activity? Your own Swabhava. Swabhava. Remember these three words. It's very important to understand these three. I'll be talking all this I'm going to discuss in this chapter 12. Swabhava, Swakarma, Swadharma. Three words. Swabhava, Swakarma and Swadharma. Sve sve karmanya birataha, he says. So there is one word called Swakarma, and then there is another word called Swabhava, and then there is another word called Swadharma. So Abdina, Swa is common to all the three. What is changing? Karma, Bhava, and Dharma. It means what? Whatever is your Swakarma, Swabhava, which becomes your Swadharma, it's blessed by God and that is given to you. That which is blessed by God and has given to you, you just don't throw it away like that. That which is blessed and has given to you, you just throw it away and then come and ask, why am I not growing? There will not be growth. Are you able to follow? This Swabhava, this Swakarma, from where you got it? You asked for it, you got it, make proper use of it. Without making proper use of it, why do you want to leave it halfway and shift it to something else? That's why they say, enlightened masters, we find from butchers also, no, in the Upanishads. And they are not stories, they are all real, they are all historical facts, they are not stories. But we think, oh, that's are all stories, sir. Enlightened masters will come only from Vedanta classes, sir. Are you able to follow? No. Through the Swakarma, Swabhava, you get to do your Swadharma for the sake of dedicating it to as Ishwar Arpana, and whatever results comes Prasad Buddhi. What reduces? When you follow this formula, what reduces? The Ahankara Mamakara dilutes. The Ahankara Mamakara dilutes. The dilution of Ahankara Mamakara is what is going to make you spiritual, not activity. And activity is not going to make you spiritual. The dilution of Ahankara Mamakara is what is going to make you spiritual. And what is the ideal ground to reduce your Ahankara Mamakara? What is the ideal ground? The activity that you are in already. The activity that you are in already is the ideal ground. Why? Because mind has developed a like to it, it will cooperate. You pick up something new, you have to start all over again. Why do you want to do that? Arjuna wanted to do that. Krishna says, don't do that. I tell you, this advice nobody will listen to. Because everybody wants to change their activity. Important is to understand this. Yes.
Two questions.
Yes. I'll come to you.
Uh,
There are some clarifications we'll take up and then we'll. Yes.
in the U-turn process, will not the dharmic living by itself take the person to God? Because you are saying you have to go towards the direction of God, not away from God. So is not dharmic living by itself in the direction of God?
The question is, will not dharmic life automatically takes you towards God? No. Dharmic life will not automatically takes you towards God. Dharmic life will give you a peace of mind. In that peace of mind, using your penetrating capacity, the buddhi, you turn towards God. Dharmic life will automatically takes you to Swarga. Remember that. But then, Swarga is very important stopover. You cannot escape that. Because only in that Swarga, there is the peace of mind. In that peace of mind, buddhi works very sharp. You can turn towards God. Dharma will lead to punya. But that Swarga is necessary. That's why we all want to give conducive environment. No. Why do we want to give conducive environment for our kids to study? Why do you want to give conducive environment for work to happen? Why do you want to give conducive environment? Theoretically, you can say wherever you can study, isn't it? Theoretically, it is good to say wherever you can study. But all of us want to give conducive environment. Why? Even though theoretically we can say wherever you can study, conducive environment plays a vital role. So for you to evolve spiritually, first create a conducive environment first. That conducive environment is dharmic life. In that conducive environment, buddhi must come into play, study the shastras, then take a U-turn. Are you able to follow? That's why I'm saying always dharmic life will not make you automatically spiritual. Dharmic life by itself will take you to Swarga. Kshine punye, he says. Kshine punye. அதனால தான் இந்த தர்மால மாட்டினவனுக்கு தான் the Upanishad will scold. Upanishad will insult the fellow who stuck with the dharma. Upanishad will curse the adharmic fellow. Upanishad will insult the dharmic fellow. இதுல curse worst, insult worst. Curse is worst. Curse is worst. Yeah. Adharma will be cursed. It's not cursing. Consequences will be that. Yeah. That's what is meant by the rishis getting angry. They say, why rishis get angry and give shapam, sir? Curses they give, no? They are simply stating adharma will result in these consequences. So Upanishads does two things. To the adharmic, curses will be given. To those who are stuck with the dharma, insults will be done. To those who are stuck in karma, for those who are stuck in karma yoga, Brahma lokala poi, why do you want to waste time? For those who are stuck in karma yoga, Kaivalya Upanishad will come and say, Te Brahma lokeshu paranta kale, Brahma lokala poi anta kale, Srishti mudira varaikum 4.34 billion years, you want to sit there? Are you able to follow? Now, unless we understand the gradations and the sequences, we will just get mixed up over everything. That's why I want to emphasize the gradations very, very clearly. Dharmic life will not automatically, it's not automatic. Karma yoga will not automatically take you. Even there, you have to use your intellect. At every stage, intellect has to come into play. At every stage, intellect has to come into play. Intellect means jnana. Knowledge has to come into play. Are you able to follow? Next clarification.
Previously, you used to say that dharma, law, God, and all are one and the same. And now you are saying law is different because there is a lawmaker. If law by itself is there, then we need to keep on creating itself. So how should I understand it right?
Dharma, God, law, all are one and the same. Now there is the law and then there is the law maker. Now we are bringing in a hierarchy. We are bringing in a hierarchy to establish something. Because the same law, the lawmaker, we are going to call as Maya later on. Now what do we do? The same law and the lawmaker, we are going to call as Maya and Mithya. Now is Dharma Mithya? Is law Mithya? Is Vishwarupa Darshana Mithya? Enlightened person will have the courage to say yes. We all should say, Chumma theoretically we should not say yes. We should say, என்ன சொல்லணும் குளத்தூர் நோ அம்மா எஸ்ன்னா இருக்கு கேமரா இல்லையா சிசிடிவி தலைமையில இருந்துனே இருக்குது எஸ்ன்னா யூ ஆர் ஃபினிஷ்ட் are you able to follow? Therefore, to establish something, it will be explained like this. What are we trying to establish now? The U-turn, the gradations. When we are trying to establish all this, explanations will be given like this. To get a clarity, you have to wait for the entire 18 chapters to conclude. Because something is introduced, will be clarified later. Something is introduced now, will be clarified later. The teaching one class is not a complete class. One leads to the next class. One leads to the next class. Are you able to follow? Yes.
What should be the right attitude of Arjuna to fight with family?
Clarification. She has a personal problem. Yeah, her personal problem. What is the right attitude to fight with the family? Arjuna. She said Arjuna. That's all. Arjuna alla illanga. Ganesh, Prida, personal problem. What is the right attitude to fight with the? What is the right attitude to fight with the family? There is no such thing called family. For something to be called as family, is the dharmic group your family or the adharmic group your family? How would you define family? How would you define family? Is dharmic group your family or adharmic group your family? No, sir, family is very clear. No, husband, wife, children, father, mother. It's very clear. No, that's not. That is not family. How do you say that's not family? How do you say that's not family? Those are all product of attachments leading you to adharma. When one is leading to adharma, what family it is? Family means one should support each other to. Family is a unit where everybody supports each other to be dharmic. Are you able to follow? Family means everybody supports each other to be dharmic. Why? Because I tend to slip, the other supports me. The other tend to slip, I support. So family means a unit that is constantly struggling to keep dharma. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre. Remember that story? How that what happened there? It became kurukshetra. What happened there? It became dharma kshetra. That story. What is that story? What happened there that it became dharma kshetra? What happened there? Golden mongoose. Golden mongoose. What? That is dharma kshetra. That is family. That is family. Bhavati viksham dehi. Said, take it. The wife said, give my portion also away. The husband said, no, you, what will happen to you? You will die. She said, what did she say? Dharma, to die. What is the give? Somebody is asking, Bhiksha, somebody has come. Bhiksha, give. Daughter-in-law, her portion. She said, give. Father said, no, trusting that you will save us, trusting that we will protect you, you came into this family. Now, how can I cause your death? He said, I don't understand what you are saying. When I left, my mother told me one thing. Do what your mother-in-law does. நீங்களாம் அந்த அட்வைஸ் கொடுக்கறதே இல்லை இல்லையா? Advice is fight with your mother-in-law is the advice given. In those days, the advice given is what? Do what your mother-in-law does. And what did she do? She gave that and she dropped dead. The daughter-in-law gave that and she dropped dead. One portion left. The son alone. He said, give my portion also away. The father said, because father means one who has given his portion already. Father na yaru? Father na first he has given his portion away. Our portion save panni vechikitarna, then he is not a father. Yeah. Father means first he gives away his portion, means he's dead already. He's given it away already. Yeah, that's the part. So he said, see, 2 wickets down. Mother is dead already. Your wife is dead already. Any moment I will die. All 3 of us will die. You need to be alive to do samskaras for us. I can't give. Look at the situation. Huh? Look at the dharma. Look at the dharma there. Where is that and where are we? For 5 rupees extra kudukarthukku we are confused. Isn't it? We are so worried and confused about that extra 5 rupees. Look at that there, life and death. So the son said, oh, for samskaras I have to be alive. Corporation will take care, he said. We both will die. 3rd day, we will rot. The smell will come. Neighbors will do the samskara, but we cannot move away from dharma. Mongoose was watching that, no? And you know how Yama came to receive them? How Yama came to receive them? Yama came in the golden chariot to receive them. Yama came. Yeah. Yesterday we said, no, Tasya Yamena Na Charcha. This family never had Charcha with Yama. Therefore, how to fight with the family? Fight in Vandirthanale, there is no. The moment fight has come, there is no. Fight means here I am talking about the dharma, not the ordinary things that we go through. Yeah, the dharma. Are you able to follow? Arjuna never saw Duryodhana as his family in the first place. Therefore, there was no problem at all for him fighting. When was Duryodhana seen as? Duryodhana never saw Pandavas. Pandavas never saw Kauravas. Who was the block between them? Unnecessary old fellow being alive and troubling everybody. One old man being alive and troubling everybody. Who's that old man? Troubling everybody. Bhishma. Are you able to follow? That Bhishma. And then the Dronacharya. Are you able to follow? Therefore, what is the attitude with which Arjuna must fight? What is the attitude with which you should fight? My family, na, give up and walk away. Where is the problem? Give up and just walk away. Where is the problem? Who's going? He who steals my purse steals the trash. He who steals my purse steals the trash. Family the purse. If they are stealing, what will you do? You will say, keep it. Big deal. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? Now, what is Arjuna's problem? Fighting with the family is not his problem. Arjuna's problem is to fight with the Guru. The Guru. What is Krishna's advice? Arjuna, you are a real fool. Carefully follow. Huh? Arjuna, you are a real fool. You know, most of the time, Sishyas will always want to fight with the Guru and prove that they are slightly better than the Guru. Sishya fighting with the Gurus is very normal. You know that? Do you know that? It's very, very normal because they'll get such a kick because the Guru is constantly knocking, isn't it? What a kick you make, one spelling mistake, what a kick it will get. Yeah. Sishya fighting with the Guru is very normal, big deal. All students learn. Student wants to teach the teachers, no. Yeah, you will want to respect your teachers only in the reunion. When you are a student, what do you want to do? Only in the reunion you will want to go and follow to your teacher's feet. In the classroom, you want to teach. So, Sishya fighting with the Guru is not a big normal thing. Look at the situation here. Dronacharya standing there fighting with the Sishya. That's where it's a beautiful scenario. But we don't see it like that. What is a beautiful scenario? See, Dronacharya could have used the teacher's command. He could have used his power as the teacher and said, all of you fellows just leave and get out. If Dronacharya has used his command, things would have been. But then look at that. That's why he placed a chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona. See, look at these two fellows, Arjuna. They have all the powers to stop this war. But are they doing it? They are doing their. What are they doing? They are doing their duty, which is that activity. Follow that example. Do your duty. Though Bhishma could have told everybody, get out, it's my property, now everybody has to walk out. Because it is his property. And legal document, Chumma, he gave a word, no. And he could have easily said, adalana legal problems. He could have easily said, my father just hypnotized me to say that. I actually didn't know what I was saying. I was a teenager when I said that. I didn't actually know what I meant. Now I want it back. Na? Supreme Court will side whom? Soumitra. Supreme Court will side Bhishma or the Pandavas. Supreme Court will side only Bhishma. But Bhishma had a different court, the court of Dharma, not the court of verbal things. Not the verbal things, the court of Dharma, the law, Dharma there. He stood there, fighting, he stood there doing the right thing. Enormous energy and capacity and conviction is needed to do this. Are you able to follow? So what is Arjuna's attitude towards the family? There's no attitude towards the family because Arjuna is not fighting Bhima and Yudhishthira. Was Arjuna fighting Bhima and Yudhishthira? Was Arjuna fighting Abhimanyu? Then it's a family fight. Kauravas and Pandavas, nammada family in solinu irukrom. Amongst themselves, there is no family at all. Where is the problem? So it's not a family fight. It's not a property dispute. It's a dispute of, it's a conflict of dharma. Are you able to follow? In order to get a clarity, whom you should go to do the right thing? Who can advise you? Wherever there is a dharma sankata, who can advise you? The Shastra alone can advise you. Shastra, through Krishna, told Arjuna, what? Fight. In this fight, you will also lose a few things. In this fight, you will also lose a few things. It's not that Arjuna didn't lose. Are you able to follow? It's not that Arjuna didn't lose. But then, in spite of your loss, you should be able to do the right thing. In spite of you going to experience a loss and pain and suffering, you should be able to do the right thing. How do you say that? 19th day, everybody got evened out. There's no Kaurava Pandava. Everybody was evened out on the 19th day because everybody was sitting and doing samskaras. Isn't it? Dhritarashtra was doing to his children. Pandavas were doing samskaras to their children. Who is the victor and who is the loser? If you don't have dharma, evens out everything. Dharma just comes and evens it out. Everyone follow? So what is Arjuna's attitude to fight with the family? First, to understand, family means that which is ready to uphold dharma becomes the family. That which is willing to let go of dharma for infatuations and attachments do not become a family. This conviction. With this, we conclude for today. We continue next.